The man at the center of this memo, the controversy, Carter Page. Carter Page, thanks for joining us this morning. You say this Republican memo that was released shows that the abuse of your civil rights was even worse than you imagined. Why?
There is no basis for it. If you think about our Constitution, due process rights, freedom of, First Amendment rights, it was just shredded, the Constitution. So,
as you know, you can't get a warrant like this, a wiretapping warrant like this, unless they can demonstrate probable cause you were working as a foreign agent. And you actually had been on the FBI's radar for working for Russia for several years. You were the target of a Russian recruitment effort back in 2013. The FBI interviewed you about that, correct?
I was a witness to a case that they were doing, so I was supporting the FBI in that case.
Right. You gave documents, though, to someone they believe they charged with espionage.
See, this is sort of spin, because I was teaching a course down Broadway here at NYU, and I told him a couple of things about what I was talking about in my course, and I gave him a couple of my notes the documents that I gave my students. So in terms of, it sounds, when you say giving documents to a quote-unquote spy, and, it's in a couple of courses. Yeah. Well, it sounds a lot worse than reality, but that's reality.
You also wrote just a couple months after that, in September 2013, to an academic press saying, this was reported by Time magazine, over the past half year, I've had the privilege to serve as an informal advisor to the staff of the Kremlin. So you were recruited at one point by a Russian agent. Then you wrote yourself that you're an informal advisor to the Kremlin. So that does lead people to believe, is this guy working with Russia?
Well, first of all, it's the G20 summit was in St. Petersburg that year, and they were bringing together people from around the world. And so a lot of people were from literally Australia, UK, here.
But these are your words. I served as an informal advisor to the staff of the Kremlin. You're advising the Kremlin.
There was a lot of people advising. We were part of an informal group, and meeting in Geneva, Paris. We had a meeting in the New York Stock Exchange. The first meeting was in the New York Stock Exchange, the center of capitalism.
But
right?
You can understand how that would raise questions and could lead to probable cause. On the one hand, at one point you say you're an advisor to the Kremlin, then you're an advisor to Donald Trump.
Look, the probable cause, based on all the evidence that keeps dripping out and now has been further substantiated with the Friday, first memo, is that it was based on that dodgy dossier, which was, a political stunt, which is unfortunate, which is false evidence. So if you talk about obstruction of justice, that's real obstruction.
Well, in fact, as you know, the Democrats have said it was not based just on that dossier. They've said there were other reasons, and this was an application that was renewed at least 3 times by people who worked for President Trump, as well by judges appointed by Republican presidents.
Well, it'll be interesting. I appreciate the New York Times putting in their request for the
FISA court. All the underlying documents.
I look forward. I hope they get it. Yep.
What do you think that's going to show?
I have no idea. What I've seen thus far is just complete ridiculousness. The fact that this dodgy dossier and news reports, when a lot of same newspaper, New York Times, was pitched this information by Mr. Steele, and they said, no way.
But you've been under surveillance from the court since October 2016. Since that time, have you ever spoken to Donald Trump?
I never spoke with him since. I never spoke with him any time in my life.
You've never spoken to Donald Trump in your life?
Nope.
No email, no text, nothing like that?
Never.
Carter Page, thanks very much.
Thanks, George.